Hey guys, welcome to our new podcast. A new guest on today with Never Giving Up, Building Your Legacy right here. We got Sumit Rajpal, as you know. We have Alex and Rocky and George, our co-host. And today, I want to go ahead and introduce Sumit. He's a good friend, sincere individual. Once you meet him, you're like, I want to be the best friend with him. And that has happened to me. And I'm grateful for that too as well. And through my real estate career. So I wanted to bring him on and really get to know his story, what he has been, why he got into mortgages and what he's doing right now to build his team and building a legacy for himself, and kind of talk about his journey through the whole process. So welcome, Sumit. And you're officially from Allied Mortgages and the VP of Allied Mortgages too as well, correct? So introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, my name's Sumit Rajpal. Rummy, thank you. That introduction, man. I don't know what to say, but grateful to have you as a friend and be on here. Thank you. I'm VP of Lending at Allied Mortgage. Been with Allied for many years. I like to say that it's the best kept secret in the mortgage industry is Allied Mortgage. Fantastic company to be with. Yeah, happy to be here. Happy to have this conversation with you guys.
Awesome. So I'll kick it off. Well, the podcast is really about people, entrepreneurships, and people who are out there. It doesn't have to be in real estate. And really what your struggle was. What's your story behind, you getting into the mortgage side of it? What's your struggles? Why you really kind of build a team right now? I think you have many. I mean, you could explain to them how many office and loan officers that you have. I think you're the top 1% that's out there too as well. You don't like to brag about it, but I know what you do in the back end. So, what has been the struggle and what positions that you took in place where, you was hitting a brick wall and you just got up and started doing it too as well. So tell me a little bit about your background story.
Well, I'll start with what we were talking about off record, right, before. So I grew up in India. I knew nothing about mortgage. The mindset most Indian people have is buy cash, never take a mortgage, just buy cash. Or that used to be the mindset anyway. I came to America, I went to college. By chance, it was one of my friend's wife who was in the mortgage business. I was looking for a job and I happened to be staying with them. She was working at night. So I was like, what are you doing? She was filling out 1003s, applications. I'm like, I can do that. I can just help you out. Just tell me what to fill. That's how I kind of got introduced to mortgages. My first job in the line was assistant to an assistant to a processor. I was basically making copies. Used to send copies to underwriters, files. It's very different now. It's all technology. Earlier, it wasn't. It was a lot of overnighting packages, multiple packages to multiple lenders and underwriters. That's how I got into it. The challenges, obviously, it's a part of life. In life, there's challenges. Same thing in the business. But evolution-wise, very early on when I was introduced in the business, I realized that it's all about people and it's about serving. I don't consider myself a good salesman at all, but I happen to be in a sales position. And I don't think it's not by design. I really wanted to be an SQL programmer in Oracle, doing Oracle Financial. I went to school for that. I studied for that. That's what I really wanted to do. Obviously, I'm in a sales position. The biggest challenge really is just constant improvement. I don't see anything else as far as whether I'm doing one application or 100 applications. It's about just whatever is in front of me to serve it the best possible way. Because behind the application is a family, is an individual, is a human being. And there's a lot that goes when somebody's looking for a house, the mortgage end of it. There's a lot of financial pressure for a typical first-time home buyer because it involves their emotions, it involves their family's emotions, their children, their parents, so on and so forth. So those are the things that I pay a lot of attention to. And so does most people. Most people who work with me, they know those are priorities. That's how we kind of build it. And if the opportunity arises for us to serve more people, Rummy, you asked, why do we have a team of people? Because if you have to serve one person, then maybe one individual is enough to serve that person. But if you have to serve 50 people, you need a team to be able to provide service. And that's really the idea.
Awesome. So did you go through any, like in my real estate career, and, there was always this pivoting point that we all go through, like, hey, I'm going to give up. And you push yourself not to. And I'm pretty sure you have those stories. I know you're hiding it, but, you started off on a secondary, and then growing to a loan officer to building a team. Was there any point where you said, this is it. This is not for me. I'm going back to, Oracle programming or SQL programming that you had in mind before. What was that moment for you like? What was that moment that turned around like, no, I have to do this, right? I have to succeed what I'm doing right now. There's no way out.
I don't know if I have like a pivotal point professionally where business was really down or, fortunately there's professionally that I've never been in the point where enough, this is not for me, anything like that. It's really on the personal side. Things happen maybe towards around 2007, 2006, around those times where I was like, this is not for me and I just don't want to do it. But somehow one thing leads to another and it's all about, people. Like sometimes you end up meeting, let's say, amazing people like you, and then you meet somebody, there's positivity that grows and that expands and you kind of grow. For me, I've actually never shared this with him, but it's the owner of Allied, Roy. Meeting him was, I think, it's got to be one of the pivotal points. And professionally, he's got a big heart, a really good guy, genuine guy. It was not about money. It's not about business. Just about caring for people, and I think that helped me.
Surrounding yourself with the right people, and even if when you're down or, when you're, it's funny. I don't want to say this on my story. I was telling the boys that, the other day, I was with my son, I'm trying to do 75 hard again. And I was complaining to him and he's like, Dad, you know what you sound like? You sound like a bee. And we can say it, you sound like a bitch. And I was like, what are you going to say to me, kid? So I picked up and as I was walking around, I'm like, I can't have somebody do this, but it is about right people around you and the right people to kind of push you forward and make you see that vision as you move forward. So as you grew your team, and obviously you started at a certain point and then you grew your team in how many years?
I'd say the change really was maybe around 2015, 16 is where I felt like it was time to, a friend of mine, Wendy, she actually called me and said, it's time to let go because it's about the desire to serve sometimes could lead to wanting a lot of control over things, wanting to control individual applications or wanting to control the flow of applications too much. Around that time is when I got some advice saying that, you know what, it's not about that. Just let go and let other people, kind of take over a typical loan application file. And I think that's what we ended up doing. That was around 2015. And that was a little bit of a turning point in how I view the business, what things to be involved in and what not to. Because again, I just individually, I give a lot of importance to what an applicant or a borrower or a buyer, what is important to them. Mm-hmm. So I kind of put myself on that a lot more and left the technical side to the rest of the team. And I think that was 2015. From there on, it kind of grew a lot.
Yeah. So going back to the beginning, when you were saying that you was the assistant to the assistant, how was the whole transaction from being the assistant to being the guy you are today?
I feel the same. I don't feel any different. I feel the most important thing is to understand the role that you're performing and do it to your best. At that time, my role was to make sure the copies of each page was done right. There were multiple copies. They were sent to the right person. And that's what I was doing. And right now, my job is to make sure our borrowers we get the best possible rate, best possible service that we could provide with the best possible closing costs. And, it's just about doing that role to the best of your ability.
And is there any, because it's a new year, still early, is there any goals you have for yourself and the team, like this coming year?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've come to believe very strongly that some people kind of say, goals are for losers. Like somebody just told me last week, goals are for losers. I don't have goals. I don't know. I've come to believe that our brain kind of operates better if we give it an exact target. For me, it works. I give myself a target. And I feel like once that target is embedded in your brain, in the people around you, in the environment that you're working in, it kind of funnels into, it's almost like you get directed towards that target.
Yeah.
Because then you perform what you need, you do what you need to do to get there.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
It's like a plan for you to go by and hey, these are steps I can take to get to where I have to go.
What do you do if you don't hit the target? You're playing in a very gray area, and I know you got gray line. Let's talk about if you don't hit the target. Did you get mad? Did you get upset? Did you get you sit back and man, I'm pissed at myself because if I don't hit my targets or something like that, I'm hard on myself. How does Mr. Rajpal handle those kind of things? Right? Those are the things that where you said, I'm not giving up. I'm going to restructure. I'm going to do this. And like I said, you have built a massive team, and you're the top 1% of the loan officers. So you have done something correctly. What has been I know taking care of the customers, bringing them first, but what has been that drive behind you? What is that drive to say, I'm going to keep pushing, I'm going to keep pulling regardless of whatever happens.
Not hitting the target is not an option. So, I mean, there are situations where you do not hit the target, but that's after the fact, right? Until that date doesn't pass, you're still on course to hit the target. And I feel like I was at my best in achieving those targets that are set when it was, let's say I would have that target in front of me, the actual number in front of me almost 3 times, 4 times a day. So basically, I guess what I've come to believe in this, and a lot of the team members that I work with, they have come to believe in it also, that if we make a target, and it's not a random target based on nothing, right? It's based on actual numbers. And Rummy, you're fantastic at this, where you're backing into, okay, what did I do last year? How many transactions? For me to do 10 transactions, how many leads did I, how many people did I need to talk to? And just back into those things and see, or for me to be able to talk to, let's say, for me to have 10 meetings, how much time do I need every day? And do I want to invest this much time in this part of my life? Or would I rather go out with my friends or family or things like that? All those things kind of amalgamate for me. For me to figure this out, Rummy, I'll share this with you. So maybe around the same time, 2015, 16, I did an exercise for 21 days where my schedule was wake up at 4 and do what I need to do, and just the day takes over. For 21 days, I would feel that towards the end of the day, there was no energy, but it was like, what did I do today? I feel like I did nothing, but I was working from 6 a.m. to like 7 p.m. So the exercise was to make a note of what I did every 15 minutes, which included a call, let's say, to my dad or mom, or from there up until, like, let's say, going out for a drink with a friend in the evening. And I realized where time was going, where maybe
not productive. Yeah.
Maybe I could have done without it. So that kind of helped me a lot in setting targets and making sure that I'm doing what I do to make sure if I need to hit, let's say, 10 applications, hypothetically, then I would need to have 40 pre-approvals. To get 40 pre-approvals, I would need to talk to 80 people. If I talk to 80 people, 50% will materialize. And for that, I would need 9 hours a day to do. So those things kind of from there on, then you say, okay, for me to do this, I need 5 people. So I need to hire 5 more people. So that's kind of how it went, Rummy. And I think with that kind of, it led to, like, every target that we set, we more often than not, we met.
So how you be able to keep the whole team engaged to achieve those targets and achieve those goals, keep somebody else motivated to achieve those?
I'll give you an example. There was Rummy's office in Yonkers. I happened to have a suite right next to it. And one day I was there very early. I was there at like 6 a.m. And I think it was a Monday. And I've told this story to Rummy a couple of times. And about 9:30, the whole, like, the building started to shake, started to just move. I was like, what's going on? And I found out later that it was Rummy's sales meeting. And Rummy gets all this riled up and motivated and all that. So I guess my answer is that you just try to lead by example. Be the first one in and be the last one out. Make sure that everybody sees that it's all about the people that we're serving. It's not about you. And at the end of it all, money is a byproduct. You do what you need to do and money follows. When that happens to your team members, then everybody buys into it.
What do you do in the circumstances when you're completely down? Like, this is not working out, something. I mean, I'm taking any scenario because, I'm pretty sure you went through this in your life. I have went through this. What do you do to get back into the grind? Like, how you come back from being here to, like, let me set myself up. And I understand of being around other people, and I have, but sometimes it's just on you, right? So because you're the leader, you're the one who's leading everything, and obviously you don't want to show that, but sometimes you're down. What do you do? Is it a routine that you follow? Is it meditation? Is it you take a walk? Like, what do you do getting a point where, okay, this is not happening, and how do I get back up? What do you recommend for people out there when they're going through their career, especially as an entrepreneur, because we're all going to face that? What do you particularly do right now?
Well, I believe in just going back to the basics. Just remember what works for you and just keep doing that. It's repetition, really, and just not let negativity fester. There are negative thoughts or what we perceive as failures that might come in front of us every now and then. But I guess it's just going down to the basics and see what works. And I think for me, that's what works.
So if it's this young man that want to get into the mortgage business, what would you recommend to do, or how you recommend to start his career?
I mean, it depends. There's a lot of ifs to that, but I would say any new business, I would give it 2 years. Go in with the mindset that you're going to give it at least 2 years, the best effort that you could put in for at least 2 years. If this business is for you, you will get lots of returns and lots of rewards. If not, that's where you have to make a decision if you want to stick around or not. But it's a great business to be in.
Now, does somebody like yourself, I mean, I know you haven't maybe, you probably thought about this too as well, building a legacy from never giving up to building a legacy as what you're kind of building right now. Is it, I know you're the VP, and how do you create a legacy right in the mortgage industry? I know it's through clients, but how do you create beyond that? Because I know from my factors in real estate, buying real estate, and now with EXP, different other ventures that are out there. But for you, how does a mortgage lender from the third party down bring to a team member and, having multiple teams now under you, how do you particularly build a legacy and say could be rewarding for, I don't know, another 10, 20, 40, 50 years?
I don't know, Rummy. I really don't.
That is the best answer we got.
Best answer. I was gonna follow.
Are you trying to figure it out, right?
But it does sound great the way you phrased it. It sounds fantastic to be able to do that. It will be fantastic to be able to look back and see that if there is, let's say, a team of 10, 20, 30 people, if we all look back and say, okay, this is what we built, I think that would be fantastic. But maybe we'll have this conversation again next year or the year after. I have a better answer. Right now, I'm really lost in this one.
And that's why we have this, right? Sometimes we're doing something over and over and over and over. And for me, it was just like, when I was a broker, what am I doing? Is my kid's going to take care of this? I don't think so. I don't know what my kid's going to do. I have no idea. My niece and my nephews, it's like you start looking around and you're trying to figure this out. And I didn't figure it out for a very long time, into a point where I said, hey, I kind of gotten an idea, a glimpse of what it looks like. I might not know it, but I got a glimpse, and I need to go approach that approach, because now we're building something towards where it can be a legacy that could lead for a long time. And it could be, some people have buying properties and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And so let's talk about a client that might come up to you. How can they start off with not a single family house? I think we spoke this with another lender too as well. And starting off with FHA, buying properties, maybe renting out to Airbnb. What do you recommend for like Rocky, and I'm just going to use George right now, young guys coming into the industry, fairly new, but do you want to buy some properties that are out there? How would you recommend, saying that they have a good enough income to buy 600 right now in New York or South Carolina or Connecticut? You're talking about $500,000-$600,000 with a nice down payment or FHA loan. What would you recommend to them to start building off that into the real estate?
You're talking like a first-time home buyer or an investor?
And first-time home buyer, and then you could go into investors. If you an investor, as I know, they have a different down payments and everything too as well.
Well, what I have come to understand, being in this business for almost 2 decades now, is that what we do for a living is really that. We make money, we spend money, try to live a good life. Real estate is one source that I definitely believe in that creates true wealth. Wealth creation comes from this, because over time, especially in the area that we're in, it's only going to go up. So it just comes down to what the end result is. What do they want to do? There are people that have targets where every 2 years they want to buy a property, they want to save up and buy a property as an investment. There are lots of loans out there that help out anybody who wants to invest and grow in real estate. A lot of people, what they do is this. The first property that they buy as a primary residence, I have many, many stories like that, and wait maybe 2 year or 3 year period, use the equity in that property as down payment on the next property, which becomes an investment. Wait another 2 years, use the equity in that property and buy the next property as investment. And before you know it, if you're in your 20s, late 20s, early 30s, the next 10 to 12 years, 15 years, you have a portfolio of 4 or 5 properties. A lot of people use that. If done right and planned well, and you get good mortgages to go with it, not the adjustable ones, but fixed rate mortgages, that's a great strategy to do.
So question then. So like, for example, my brother, he's 19. He wants to start investing and start something up. How you recommend to start the whole process of getting his first property now coming out of college?
If he's able to buy now, it's going to be great. I just made sure my niece got into one property like that because she's 25. And I believe that if she works hard, next 10 years, maybe tries to pay off a big chunk of it, gets appreciation, that's going to really set her up well for the rest of her life. 19, 20, if in the next 12 months to 24 months, if he could get into a primary residence, he may need somebody to maybe help for a mortgage, co-sign or things like that. And in the next 4 or 5 years, if he builds some equity in it and then uses that equity to buy the next one, I think it'll set him up really, really well. And for that, again, it comes down to dealing with the right realtor. I'm not saying this because I'm sitting with a bunch of esteemed realtors here.
No, it is.
But,
it is. Think about it right now. 1.6 million realtors, already 30% went out. The prediction is 50% is going to go out. So there is going to be a big shift, and where I think my wife almost became a mortgage broker as well, and my sister tried to do it. There's a big difference between becoming a realtor, because the low level of the entrance, I hate the word low level, but the entrance of realtor is very down here, right? You get your license and that's it. And then for a mortgage person, it's pretty up there. It's like taking a big exam from what I know. I haven't taken one, but that's one thing. But you're 100% right, is that you have to get the right realtor that's going to be on your side and making sure that they show you the way, plus with the attorney and plus with a mortgage person as well.
Yeah, see, I agree. The barriers for entry for a mortgage in the mortgage industries, the bar is a little higher compared to the real estate side of it. But I think the role of the realtor is super important. Typically, when a typical home buyer, first-time home buyer especially, they lean on the realtor a lot for guidance, for what kind of property they're getting, the condition of the property, the location. And that can really be the differentiating factor between a first-time home buyer going in. The excitement of moving into a house, your own house, is one thing. But when you're in it, when reality sinks in, how much are you spending on repairs or a big expense coming up in the first 2-3 years of your home ownership can be the differentiating factor between being a successful homeowner in the beginning part, like the first 5 years of home ownership, or really struggling to make payments and maybe defaulting. And that could be a very sour experience for some people. So I think realtors play a very, very important role.
Awesome. Any other questions you guys have?
I have a question. How long you been in the business, you said?
Almost 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
All right. Just got a question. What will you say back to that person that started 20 years ago and where you're at today? What's one thing or two things that you could say that you could share that you have grown, right? And something that if you would have known this 20 years ago before, I know it would have pushed your business to the next level. But I want to know what one thing or two things that definitely helped you out to grow where you're at today.
Well, I think what has helped me to grow is I never considered any work to be small or big. And if I was told to make copies, I make copies. Never thought that was a lot of my grad school friends told me that you're destroying your career by doing what you're doing, but it just felt right, so I did it. So I think just having that confidence and backing your instinct is what I've learned from that experience, that I gotta back my instinct more. What I could do different if I'd done the sales part a little earlier, because I still tell myself that I'm not a salesperson. I really cannot sell, but I wish I got into sales a little earlier in the career.
I think that's very interesting of you saying, first time I ever hear that. You're in the sales department, you're saying you're not a sales. So it's very interesting because if you definitely treat it like a little more of caring of the person than being a salesperson, I mean, that's big. That was very huge, this whole conversation. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I mean, if you first be yourself, and then if you put people first, right? We're going through some situation right now as a people first. And I think you said it so many times that the people are first, and then the money will follow. Money is great. And some people are coming into this for money or whatever reason that might be. And I think that in sales, that people have to be first. And if you treat them right, they treat them good, they're going to keep coming back and they're going to build a different relationship with you. And then that's where the referral comes in and so on and so forth, which is really awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you just said, do we treat it as a transaction or do we treat it as a relationship? A relationship, it just sets our brain where we're not treating it as a transaction, where we're saying, okay, I got to meet Rummy tomorrow again. What am I going to look in his eyes and say, yeah, this is what I did? What's the point of that life?
Yeah.
The self-accountability too as well. What is one question, that you would want us to ask you that you haven't heard from us or anybody else? What is one question that, say, hey, I wish people would ask me this question?
Oh, no, dude. I have no idea.
Think about it.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, think about it next time we do the podcast.
I'm surprised. It's kind of genuine surprise that I really didn't know what we were on the call for. For you to be asking these questions, I kind of feel important. So that's a big surprise for me. I'll tell you that. I don't think it's that important of a thing that I'm doing. I'm just doing mortgages.
And it's funny, everybody plays a different role, and I think in the universe, and everybody has their own, I like to say, their position, and that's your position, right? So you might not know how much you affect people. You do affect people. And now I come across this a lot, and then, that one conversation will change somebody's life. And then one conversation when somebody sits down with you will change their whole life. Yeah, I could afford a house. Oh my God, I can make this happen, make this dream happen. And those are the real way of, hey, why am I really doing this? I mean, we talk about never giving up, but we're talking about why are you doing what you're doing? And I think that you really pointed out that it was just about people. It's just about helping people. And maybe, grabbing a cup of coffee for in the beginning. Hey, you want a coffee? I'll get you coffee. And a lot of the new generation, a lot of people who are getting in, no, I want this. this. I want leads. I want that. And we get it from the real estate. Well, I'm not saying make coffee for me, but hey, did you pick up the phone and call 10 people? No, you didn't. Did you do this? Did you door knock? No, you didn't. So what are you expecting differently that's going to happen? One of the questions I think we had, and I was reading Never Finish from David Goggins again, and this question keep coming in my head, the 1 second rule, which is ask these 3 questions. I'm going to give you one, is just if you quit right now, right? If you quit right this instance, right? What would change, right? What would change? And that's the pain, the struggle that people are going through, the pain, whatever it might be, what would change? I'll go back to the same person as I was before. If I don't quit and I keep pushing forward, even through the pain, even through the agony, even through, we talk about, like you said, sales, sometimes we get pulled up and like, oh my God, I want to make the sales. I don't want to make this call. I'm scared. I'm frightened. And I had that in the very beginning, but I had to do it because I had a family to feed. And when you push forward through that, you just, it just becomes easier and easier and easier. Really, it's a 1 second rule where you tell your mind and you already ingrained in that way before, like, hey, if this happens, I got nowhere else to go, or I'm going to go back to the same old me, which is pretty cool. Hey, we're going to have your contact information below. Definitely reach out to Mr. Rajpal, and Ally Mortgages is awesome. I got my mortgages from them. They're amazing. I mean, with him, is like he said, it's a really, really, really personal, more of hands-on experience than anything else. And if somebody wants to contact him about mortgages, we're going to have that information below too as well, so that you could connect with him right away. Is there any last thought that you want to leave off with when, just speaking out there to entrepreneurs and realtors and people that want to connect with you?
Well, just exactly that. It'll be repetitious, but it's the people. I mean, I'm here because of you, Rummy. We didn't have this relationship, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, people. It's all about people.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for this.